Welcome to the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur. My name is Rita Perez. Hello. I've been a travel advisor for over 10 years and am navigating this winding road of entrepreneurship with you. I created this podcast because I wanted to share all the things I've learned from leaders both in and out of our industry that I really wish I would have known way back then. But alas, the important thing is I'm aware of them now, and I want you to be too. Ready for this week's show? Let's jump in. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. So nice to have you here. We have another incredible guest. I feel like the summer lineup has been very dynamic with a lot of travel industry disruptors. We're talking about like breaking travel business rules and doing business differently. And I feel like our speaker today is very well versed in that realm because she is one of the co-founders of a new software for the travel industry called Sequence that really is going to be, I feel, reshaping the way that we structure our businesses and just streamline so many of the processes. So if you are like a paper hoarder, like I know I tend to be, and I can be, this really is to help make everything just easier for your business, easier for your brain too, that you can let go of like, oh yeah, that due date is today or whatnot. So without further ado, welcome Alexandra Tucker from Sequence.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm very excited about this. This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here. We did a hard hat tour, and if you haven't done a hard hat tour with Sequence, highly recommend doing one of those so you can see what this software is. But tell us a little bit more about you, how you got started in the travel industry,
Yeah.
and how Sequence was birthed.
Yeah, definitely. So myself, I'm actually based in Knoxville, Tennessee, have
Okay.
been my entire life, but am, of course, an avid world traveler, just like hopefully all of us.
Yeah.
And I came to travel, it was like so many of us, it was a passion. And I was just kind of like, how can I do more of it and still make a living? And my background was in hospitality and sales. And so that kind of naturally progressed into travel. I started working full-time as a travel agent in 2009.
Okay.
I was, travel agent. I was an employee at a large travel company, worked in an office, did all of that. And it was a great training grounds for learning, all of the back end of the industry and all of the foundational pieces. And then I moved into the IC model in 2017 with a virtual host agency. So, and then it was in that transition was where I really kind of learned about the importance of the systems and processes and kind of creating your business, right? And at one of our host agency retreats, the story goes, three travel agents walked into a bar.
No way.
Just networking with a couple of colleagues that, it was familiar with. We weren't necessarily close and we're all distributed in different states, and just kind of exchanging ideas for how to be more efficient and how to run your business and what tools are you using. And since I had a little bit more experience than them, they were like, wait a second, you just used like a notebook, just what are you talking about? And it was very much like, yeah, you find an experienced travel advisor and you learn from them and you kind of create your own process on the back of your notebook or your whiteboard or your Post-it notes. And at that time, Trello was becoming a lot more used. And that was probably kind of the most like sophisticated approach, was like Trello or like Excel. And so that night and from there, we spent a lot of time just talking about like, well, we could maybe do something smarter, better. And it started out as an idea for us to run our businesses better. And then we were like, oh, well, all of the whole host agency could benefit from this. And then we were, discovering that, wow, really all of us could benefit from it.
Right.
There really just isn't anything that is project management, travel industry focused, right? Trello is generic. All of these other tools are so generic. And the reason we don't use them is it takes too much time to set them up. So
Right.
good old paper and pen is quick and easy, but it's definitely a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah.
So yeah. So anyways, throughout COVID, that was just kind of that opportunity, like we all took to kind of take a step back and reprioritize and kind of get clearer focus on things. And since then, it's been kind of this evolution of growing this idea for a solution that's good for three of us to growing into a company now that hopefully is going to, disrupt the way we're all doing business, make us more efficient, make us more productive, and therefore more profitable.
Yes, I love it. Love it. So, and I love where you also mentioned, because that I feel like is probably one of the biggest questions for people is why create a software for the travel industry as opposed to like what a lot of other people do, which is like help other people build a system in something that's a ClickUp, Trello, Asana, Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. I think part of it has a lot to do with the fact that build out process is expensive, it's time consuming. And so it just adds a whole nother project to an already really stressed schedule for so much of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you adapt a generic tool like a ClickUp, which I love ClickUp, I love Trello, like they're very versatile, but sometimes it's hard, especially for non-organization minded folks or people that are just really focused on a lot of other things, to really conceptualize like, what is an efficient way to structure this system, or how do I set this up, or what does this button do? So for us to create something that's just, minimal clicking, very intuitive, honestly, it mimics a lot of those tools. We're utilizing rows and columns, we're utilizing a Kanban board. These are familiar things, but we're totally removing that whole project of setting things up, loading things in. We're doing all of that so that you basically come in and you use it already built out, already kind of set up. And it just makes it, again, that much faster to get to the work that you need to be doing rather than the project of building it out.
Okay, perfect. So I know many of us know what some of these tools are, but for somebody who doesn't know what a ClickUp or Trello is, what is it and how does it help people in their bit? Like, why does somebody need this for their business?
Yeah, absolutely. So the project management space is actually huge. I mean, it's billions of dollars a year now, right? Every industry, every company is looking for ways to, automate certain processes. And so there's a lot of different tools out there that are designed to bring remote teams together. Or individuals, able to kind of streamline their processes because we're all doing more now than we ever used to. So there are tons of them. Like Trello, like I said, is probably the most common in our industry because it's maybe theoretically the most like visually easy to use. ClickUp is another one. Asana, Monday is really popular. I've heard a lot of folks using that. Basecamp is another one. And the reason you use them, for travel advisors, we're on the go all the time, right? Like we're always fam trips and conferences and all these things. That's why we work in this industry.
Right.
So lugging around your notebooks and your calendars and your whiteboards,
which I've seen it.
It is really like, besides just being inefficient, it's a pain, right? And as soon as you write something down and 10 minutes later, it's no longer relevant or valid or whatever. So this whole process of the manual organization actually creates a lot of clutter and a lot of mess. And you end up being very redundant in your process, going back and checking this here and checking this here. And it creates these little holes for all those important details to slip through the cracks. So with a digital solution, what it does is it travels with you. So you can put all of the things in one place, right? It's centralized. So the benefit there is, at least if, even if you are being redundant or you don't always know everything, it's in one place. You can find it instead of searching through the desktop. And then taking a computer with you instead of, notebooks and calendars and all that sort of stuff is a lot more efficient. So the digital solution really just removes the clutter, removes the mess, and makes your business, mobile and remote and on the go with you. So you're really not missing a beat. So that's the appeal for the digital side of things.
Okay. So what information would be going into Sequence as opposed to, well, I guess generally what information goes into Sequence that we can track, and how would that differ if somebody's using an itinerary builder or a CRM?
Perfect. I love that. Sequence is actually kind of designed to be a bridge in those particular platforms, right?
Okay.
So we really focus on the what to do and when to do it of running your business rather than the how to do it. And so the beautiful thing about like your CRM, that system's already set up, you've got your people there, and that houses all those important details, passport numbers, birth dates, allergies, emergency contacts, who else they travel with, where they live, how you market to them. That's all that stuff, right? And then your itinerary builders are the way you kind of communicate with them. And so what Sequence does is kind of lives in that space in between of saying, this is who we're working with, this is the type of trip we're working on, and these are the things that we need to do to get them from point A to point Z. And so when you're utilizing Sequence, what it's actually doing is telling you, okay, the next thing you need to do in your workflow is send them this form, or build out that itinerary, or submit your, final payment. And then basically you execute that action via whatever platform you're already using, right? We're not going to be the platform that does the booking, that does the payments, that does the commission reconciliation. We will integrate with those systems so that, again, you've got this dashboard that kind of tells you, okay, this is what you need to do next for this client. This is what you need to do next for this client. Or maybe it's not a client. Maybe it's like a marketing project. So this is also going to touch like your business operations.
Okay. I was going to ask about that.
Yeah. So the information that we're taking, that Sequence takes into the system, really is pretty high level. It's what is this workflow? Is this your Q3 social media marketing campaign, or is this your anniversary trip to Italy for, the Smiths? And then after you label that workflow, you can assign a location to it. If it's a trip-based workflow, you can assign a point of contact if you have kind of a client you're working with. But then other than that, you're pulling out some task lists and you're entering some dates, and it generates this whole slew of individual action items and the reminder dates. And so that just goes into the system along with all the others. And now you have a time-stamped list of the things that need to be done next. So we're really trying to not be too repetitive, because we know that you're already filling out your CRMs, you're already filling out those itineraries, you're already filling out your financials. So we're really just trying to keep you on track of like, I know I'm working on a few things right now. Where am I in this process? And that's where we play.
Right. I kind of see it now that you've also mentioned that kind of like marketing and financials, it's really the managing the operation of the entire business and the different business functions.
Yeah, exactly. So client facing, but also business facing. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think, that idea of like the one-stop shop and the one solution to do all things is a really nice kind of aspiration. But I think what is difficult is that so many of us running our own businesses in so many different ways, we like certain tools. You and I probably use 2 different CRMs, and add a third, fourth, and fifth travel advisor, and there's 3, 4, and 5 more CRMs, right?
Right.
So we all have these different systems. So the idea is that, this is kind of creating a kind of a backbone, and then that integration into the systems that you already know and love and use. And what we're actually cutting out are those extra things like the Excel, the OneNote, the Post-it notes, the whiteboards, just all those extra noisy things. And we're really just kind of trying to streamline what you're doing and how you're doing it kind of out of one space.
Alrighty. So kind of bouncing off of that, talking about integration, and there's so many tools that we use. Plus, there's so many things like Zapier to connect different tools, especially like I'm thinking email marketing or direct mail marketing.
Yes.
Is Sequence kind of going to be equipped to be able to integrate the itinerary builders and all the things that we use?
Yeah, definitely. For sure. I think that's going to be one of the biggest compelling factors to make it useful, is that it will integrate and not just kind of be a siloed standalone application. And integrations come in over time.
Right.
So obviously I'm a travel background, not a technology background, but I've learned a lot about this. And, the platforms and the systems that we're using to build our technology will talk to some platforms easier, and other ones will require different ways for them to connect. But our goal is to have it be as connected as possible to as many of our tools in the travel industry as possible. We would like to start with just, basic email and calendar integrations, because those are things we all use all day, every day, right?
Right.
And then from there, we want to kind of bring along some other industry specific, like you were mentioning, the itinerary builders will be super helpful. Some of the financial tools will be super helpful, CRMs. And then again, that's just, once those things are integrated, that's even that much less information that has to be, input or shared back and forth. So we will see a huge growth in our kind of integration portfolio as the product grows. That's just going to be a constant kind of priority for this system.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, no, I'm like, I'm waiting for the day where everything connects to each other because
it's all automated.
Right. It's less work, it's less effort for us. Like if I can input someone into my CRM and then I get a pop-up notification like in Sequence that, hey, you have a new client, there's a new trip, which workflow do you want to add for them? But also I can get okay, their information is now in my direct mail software. So now they're going to be getting all my direct mail mailers that I send out. Like that is the dream of efficiency one day.
Oh, it is, right? And truly the technology does exist for those things to happen. So now it's just a matter of like putting all those little puzzle pieces together and kind of connecting those dots. And so that's 100%. That's our dream. That's our biggest ambition, is to get this thing, like I said, just in that nice little in-between spot where everything just kind of lives harmoniously in one space. But going back to the idea that everybody appreciates the ability to customize. So that's why we don't necessarily want to be one-stop shop, but customizable through like APIs and integrations, and all the systems that you use are all represented right there.
Yeah, because going into that and everything integrating, it really is about saving time and kind of like just things happening effortlessly. My mouth is not catching up with my brain today. Well, let's just kind of like just backtrack it to time management. And, I'm a big proponent of hiring help where you need it. But I'm also a huge proponent of use as much tech and tech tools to save you time and money.
Absolutely.
Until like you absolutely need to hire like another brain on with you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's so much that we do that can be automated, right? And then that frees up that mental energy and time to do those things that can't be automated by process and technology. So it's like all of these things that we're constantly going back and forth and doing on a daily basis that can just be built into like a repetitive system, put that on the technology. And then your brain power to do that relationship building and that inspiration and that education and all those pieces that really kind of keep our clients close to us and really kind of differentiate us in our specialties. That's where we really can't bring on a tool to do this stuff for us. So something like Sequence, and again, going back to the digital approach as opposed to the manual approach, it saves your time. It kind of just sets those things in motion for you. We've discovered, with Sequence, just compared to like the current method of like Excel, Google reminders, and like a digital calendar, you can save up to 5 hours every single week by just putting these workflows in.
Wow.
And so, 20 to 25 hours in a month. Now you're freed up to do projects that you've been wanting to do, to really hone in on your customer acquisition, to go after that like ideal customer, to do, events for your loyal customer. There's just a lot of things that you can now freely go do that require your presence.
Right.
You've got your systems in place that are teaching your new assistant like how to do the job of being a travel agent or whatever the case may be. So yeah, time savings is huge, and technology can save you 40 to 50% of your day just by putting a system in place.
Right. And kind of talking about that, is Sequence built out so that if current travel advisors or suppliers who want to use the software, that they are able to add team members on, or would each team member have their own kind of login?
As of today, it's a single login, but that is going to be one of the early functionalities in the beta version of the product, is team functionality, so that tasks can be delegated, shared, and have visibility across a team. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So for someone who is like, it sounds like really great what they're talking about, can we like help them visualize? They just got honeymoon clients. They've input them in Sequence. Now what else does Sequence do, or what else would they have to input in order to help make Sequence as efficient for them?
Yeah. So, building out a workflow takes about 30 seconds, just depending on how involved you get. But a standard workflow is going to be about 30 seconds. And that's going to include maybe 4 to 7 task lists. The task lists are all arranged based on kind of the work that you're doing. So for a honeymoon couple, you want to, label your workflow, put a name on it, put a location, just to kind of help you keep track of like what this trip is, right? We don't want to forget. And then you go through and choose your task list. And then after that point, what you're left with is a pre-populated list of single action items, right? So the singular action items help you kind of really keep track of exactly where you are in your process. Okay. And then with those task lists, you do assign some dates in the system as well. And so when those tasks are pulled by your selection of the task list, a due date is now automatically assigned. And so once you've hit save on your workflow, the next screen you see is your every single touch point on your trip and all of the dates when they're due, and they're arranged in chronological order. So now you're just looking at, okay, today is August 9th. I've got 4 things that I need to do for these clients. With the task list view, it's like a Kanban board. So it's like drag and drop, and you just put it in your doing column. And now these are the things you need to do today to get them going. And so every day when you pull up your sequence system, you're going to see the things that are due today, the things that you're currently working on, and the rest of the stuff that's kind of left in your pipeline. Eventually, you'll also see a really nice done column of all the things you've accomplished.
Yes.
Which is another thing that's super helpful in teams too. You can kind of see as work progresses between people, between trips. But yeah, once you've spent those 20 to 30 seconds to just kind of set things up, then the automations take over and it just kind of produces that list for you, and off you go.
Okay. And when we're thinking about like still sticking with the honeymoon clients, so like you've had a discovery call with them, they've signed these are all tasks that would be on some sort of task list. Like, absolutely, I need to send them my contract. I need them to pay the deposit. Do enough people know that your business even exists? If you're not meeting your yearly income goals, then probably not. You need more clients, which means you need more prospects, and you can't get those unless you're meeting them where they are. If you're doing things like sending weekly emails and posting to social media, you have put the horse ahead of the cart. So let's put the horse back where it belongs and find opportunities to increase the number of eyeballs on your business by joining the Visibility Collaborative. Search for visibility opportunities, track your efforts, and troubleshoot in community. Head on over to the show notes to learn more and get ready to turn your new prospects into profits. To add them to my direct mail list, I need to send them a thank you card. I need to research hotels for them. I need to close on a hotel for them.
Yep. Yep. So what we really tried to do is kind of take the best practices and standard approach of like throughout the industry, what are we all doing for our people as we go through the different stages of that sales cycle? And I'll be honest with you, Sequence does give you a lot of tasks. And so a lot of advanced advisors have gone in there and kind of seen, well, that's a little granular for me, or I don't actually do it that way. So there are opportunities to further customize the workflow and the task list. Okay. We try to give you kind of the most that we can think of that you would need to do, and just say, if you did these 15 touch points for their onboarding cycle, you would be doing every kind of ideal touch point. But then you have, for maybe like a honeymoon couple, maybe you want to send them like a bottle of bubbles or something to the room. There's absolutely going to be a reminder to do like VIP amenities, a reminder to also call ahead to the hotel the week prior to make sure they have it all on record. And so you really can, it's kind of designed to be that thing that catches all of those details from slipping in the cracks. And you see, oh yeah, I always forget to do this thing. I really need to do that. Oh, and it's due tomorrow. As opposed to right now, when you book a honeymoon client, you sit there and you think, okay, I've got to do this, 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 and this. And so you like write it all down on your phone, or you write it all out on a piece of paper. Yeah. And then 3 weeks, when you come back to the file, you're like, oh, I also have to do this, this, and this. So then there goes another 15 minutes of like putting stuff on your calendar and scratching it out and updating it. And this just skips that whole entire process. We just do it for you from the outset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love how you were saying too, that all the operations, so it could be like even doing your month-end review of your finances, tracking your goals, content batching day, or we need to hire somebody else out, or I'm doing a supplier roundup, or I mean, there's just so many different things in the business that we forget about because we're so focused on the client.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that was one of the biggest things that was part of our initial conversations, was just saying like, yeah, it's so important to take great care of these clients, and you want to give them that kind of concierge level, is something a little bit different than what they, could get online or whatever. But then there's a whole business to run. And a lot of us are doing all of those things on our own or with a very small team. And so you spend 8 hours in your day talking to 4 different clients, got 4 different trips and learning all of these things. And then it's, 8:00 at night, you're like, oh, I haven't done my commission reconciliation in 3 months. I probably should go ahead and do that at some point.
Right.
So this allows you to see that holistic business picture from a bird's eye view. And it gives you kind of a space to kind of plan so that you're allocating your time efficiently. And so maybe the task that's like forefront in your mind for this honeymoon couple actually could be done a week from now. And there are like 3 other things that really need to be done right now. And so this kind of puts those things in priority order, so that you're staying on track for your business and for your clients.
Love that. Love that. Now, we were talking a little bit about client expectations, and
yeah,
I was like, there's no better time to talk about client expectations in this wonky world that we're now experiencing.
Yes, that's so true.
How could something like Sequence help with setting some of these client expectations?
Yeah, I think the nice thing about Sequence is it allows you to kind of see your business from that bird's eye perspective, and it makes it easier for you to articulate to them, this is what we're going to do next, or this is the process that we're going to go through, or these are the types of things that I'll be doing for you. I don't know that everybody necessarily wants their clients to see how the sausage is made, right? We don't necessarily.
I was just going to ask about that.
You're like, I don't know that we want to invite them to our Sequence board and be like, here are all the things I'm doing. But there's something to be said about kind of laying it out for them and being able to see like, this is the progression of the work that we're going to do while we're working together. And here are the touch points that I'm going to make sure I'm going to handle for you. And so that can just give the clients a little bit of peace of mind, knowing like, oh, she's got my back. She's got all of this covered. And then at those points where you need to send out that form to the client, like, I need you to fill this out for me, or I need you to review these options and tell me what your preference is, allowing them to understand this is a collaborative process. I'm not taking over everything from you, but I am handling all of this like back end stuff. So you just get to focus on the fun decisions. I think having that conversation early on, as you're setting up your clients or maybe meeting them for the first time, I think for me, that's always been really helpful in the past, is just to say, this is what you can expect. This is how I typically work. Here's kind of a general timeline. So the nice thing about Sequence is it kind of maps out what that cycle looks like from today until when they travel. And so you can kind of give them an idea. Okay, the next 2 months, we're going to be focusing on this. And then next month, we're going to do this. And then that 4th month, you're ready to travel because we've done all of this, or whatever that timeline looks like. So it gives you a really clear picture of like exactly what things are going to fall when. So that's always nice too. People just kind of want to know like what's coming up next.
Yeah.
And so that gives you a clearer way to communicate that to the clients. And then if you choose to, communicate it with the clients through dialogue, through a consult, creating like a little lead magnet document that you can put in your social media, or attach it in a signature, or put it as a landing page on your website. There's a lot of nice ways to like share with the clients, like, here's what I do for you. Here's all the work that I do. We put it in a very like educational kind of way. I think that really helps them understand, and ideally kind of saves a lot of those questions and those extra communication touch points where you're like, oh, I'm going to do it. Maybe letting them know up front that you're going to do it, then they don't have to worry about it,
Right. Yeah. So will they like have any sort of dashboard on their own to kind of like see where things are at, or it's just kind of like an overview of the process?
Yeah, I think eventually we will have that. That's actually a feature that we've kind of been testing, to kind of see like, would you, and the question to the user, the advisor is, would you want to share this with your client? And if so, how much do you want to share with them? Do you want to just give them like the next 10 touch points? Do you want to just give them like the major touch points? Because at the end of the day, Sequence is designed for the travel advisor. So we are using industry language. We are talking to you or the supplier even, right? So travel suppliers are going to be on this platform. So if if a client of yours sees your dashboard and they're like, oh, there's there's 50 tasks on here and they're using words like DMC and commission and all these, like, what does all this mean? Maybe
Yep.
they don't want to see that, but maybe they want to see kind of more like a pictorial representation of like, we're going to be working on these types of things. So how that gets presented to the client is something we're definitely still playing with. And then I think that ultimately could just be a feature, like an optional add-on or something that gets toggled on and off. Some advisors will love it, and some advisors would be like, "Oh, I would never tell them that."
I could see that.
Yeah. Again, it just comes back to that customization of the platform. We will have different tiers of the software, so folks can choose how elaborate and how robust it gets. And so again, just coming back to like, how do you run your business? How do you operate? Do you need something that's like, all the bells and whistles, or something very basic? And then just allowing you to kind of customize those options within the tool to kind of fit within your preference, your current systems. And really the point is just to optimize what you're doing.
Okay. Now, kind of also speaking on like timelines, I know that as of like right when we're recording this, Sequence is not open. Like you can't just automatically sign up for Sequence. You have a small community and a beta coming soon. So can you let us know kind of where we're at and like where is Sequence going?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. So right now, Sequence, we are launched to our community. So Sequence has a community. It's called the Speakeasy, and the Speakeasy members are folks who have completed hard hat tours, who want lifetime access to Sequence, who want to be involved with a community of like-minded business owners and like grow and support each other. And so that group of folks right now is in the system, and they are helping us kind of figure out, what to do next, right? So we've started out with the most basic things we can do in the system and what's really going to make it useful next, and working out all of the bugs and all of the kinks and all of the quirks. Right now, outside of the Sequence community, we are doing one-on-one demos, and we have a waitlist space where advisors can get on our waitlist. And for those folks, they're going to be the next round of people invited to use the platform.
Okay.
The nice thing about the waitlist, it's currently open, and it will probably remain open for at least the next couple of months. And the folks on the waitlist are going to have the first invitations to get in the platform for a really great deal, because it will be that beta version, right? So we're not going to charge for all the things, but it's going to be functional and robust, and it's going to continue to grow. And so that's going to be like kind of the early bird pricing deal is for our waitlist folks. And then, like I said, fall towards the end of the year, it's going to be where it's going to be kind of that beta version, that first market release. And then at the beginning of next year is when it's going to be kind of its most full version. And at that point, we'll start introducing even more integrations, and kind of those higher price point functionalities for like white labeling and some of those kind of more top end functionalities. So like I said, right now demos are huge. People like what you and I did together, poking around the platform, seeing what's in there, and getting on the wait list. And then some folks, like I said, are loving the Speakeasy community. Is a ton of fun. We have monthly events, some in person, some virtual, and it's really just a lot of business growth, support, mentorship. And then, like I said, the platform is lifetime access. So that's kind of the big draw there, is just having Sequence and all of its versions and formats. So if nothing else, just be watching out more this fall. But if you're not on the wait list, you're not going to hear about all the announcements. So that's really the most important thing.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, because I look on social media and I'm like, ooh, it seems like so elusive, right?
Yeah, for sure. I will say this, in the technology world, we've moved relatively slow compared to some others.
Really?
But I think it's for one, we've really tried to be very intentional about what we're doing, because we do realize that so many of us are overloaded with options and choices and
Right.
even, new technologies coming out. And it's like, we really want to make sure we get this right from the outset, if we can, as best we can, just because it's a huge opportunity to really change the way we do things. So we've really been focusing on the community and how important that is. And then also just really trying to make sure that when we make a choice about the platform, that it's really designed with our our industry in mind. So we take a lot of time to talk it through, to test things out. And we're so excited. Like there's just so many fun ideas and so many cool things we want to build in it. So we're very excited about it. It all takes time.
Right.
But yeah, it's going really well and it's growing. I think even more than any of us had ever really kind of initially imagined. So it's very exciting.
Yeah. Is there like an idea or a thought that has kind of like just very interesting that people might not think initially with a project management tool that might come down the pipeline or is coming down the pipeline?
I don't think I have anything I could kind of publicly say.
Okay, yeah.
Those things are kind of far out in the future. And what we have found is if we say anything now, we might be kind of held to it.
Oh, yes. I hear you there.
But I will say, you know, the Speakeasy group it's been kind of cool because they've been able to get all of their requests in. So a lot of the stuff that we're building into the platform right now is directly requested by the current users. And so we're going to keep that up for a little while. Obviously, once we have a certain number of people, we won't be able to do that necessarily. But that's another cool thing is just being this close to the ground up of everything. We're starting to see like, you know, this request comes in for this feature. Oh, that's a great idea. Let's go ahead and build that out. That'll be great.
Yeah.
But that is why we don't want to say too much about what's coming because we do want to try to be responsive, and we may think today that like, ooh, this would be a really cool thing to do. And then 6 months from now, we're not even on that page anymore, right? We're totally over here. So our goal is just to be as responsive as we can.
Nice. One of the questions that I had been having too is because I had tried to use a project management tool, but then it's like you have the tool and you built things in, but then to actually like keep using it, is there anything to kind of like facilitate that you're actually using Sequence? I know you can't be like, hey, Rita, like, hello, you got all these things coming up, but is there anything to kind of like bridge I've put everything set up and okay, now what do I do?
Right. I think that's kind of built into the psychology of the fact that like all of the tasks that are going to be in the system are kind of daily touch points that you're going to have like before you even sign the client on to after they get home and like the 4 months after they get home. So if you're not in the system on a daily basis, you're going to be missing kind of what's next or what's due, right? So kind of inherently it builds that stickiness is kind of the concept of that, right? Keeps you coming back every day because it's the concept really is like, okay, I'm having my morning coffee. What's going on today? What are the things I don't need to forget? And it just shows you right there, like, oh, these are all the things that are happening today. So I think that's just the core bit of it. But then once you do begin to use it more to forecast your workload, like what's coming up this month, where can I take a day off, or where do I need to be planning my FAMs, or where do I need to be, sharing work with a teammate? It allows you to kind of plan intentionally. It allows you to forecast intelligently for your business. So I think by virtue of the fact that the more you are using it, the more you need to use it, I think that's what's going to keep you coming back.
Right. And I love how you say it's almost like a command center, like,
yeah.
Hey, Rita, Agent 415 is checking in today.
Right. Well, what we got going on? Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I love it. So where can people go and find you to either schedule a hard hat tour or see what kind of updates are coming down the pipeline?
Perfect. Yeah. So our website is sequencesoftware.com. And there you can join the wait list. You can get on my schedule for the demos, and then regular updates and communications come out monthly on our newsletter. So when you're on the wait list, you'll get our newsletter. And we also have Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And for Instagram and Facebook, we do pretty regular stories, occasional posts, and there's usually something linked in there. And then on LinkedIn, it's a little bit more about kind of the business growth of Sequence, a little bit more like what we're doing to create the company. That kind of gives like that whole picture. So sequencesoftware.com, and then it's just at Sequence at Facebook and Instagram, and Sequence is spelled SEQUENSE.
I was just going to say, and it's an S and not a C.
That's right. Yes.
Awesome. Well, anything else we should know before we hop off here?
I don't think so. As long as, like I said, as long as you're on the wait list or you're in the speakeasy community, you're in, you know what's going on. So those are the two best ways to keep up and not miss out on what's next.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here. I am really excited. I think I'm on the wait list, but I'll have to check because
you're not just
want to get in.
Yeah, I think you are on the wait list. I'm pretty sure I saw something there. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Because I am impatiently waiting for fall, for beta to start, and just popping everything in.
It's coming. Okay.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. No, it's going to make things just so much easier.
Yes.
And just not have to think so much, and not saying that I don't want to ever think. It's just
you'll
being
be
able to offload things.
Yeah, you'll be thinking about different things, right?
Exactly.
You're not like, oh, what was that supposed to be done? Like that part's going to be handled. So yeah, it'll free up your mind quite a bit.
Yes, I love that. Thank you so much for being on here, Alex, and sharing a little bit.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great. I really appreciate it.
Yes, everyone, make sure to tune into the show notes for some of the links, and have an amazing week. We'll see you back here next week. Bye.
Awesome. Bye.
Thanks for joining me on The Strategic Travel Entrepreneur. Please subscribe and leave a show a rating on your favorite podcast platform. Oh, and don't forget to take a look at the show notes for important information and links. See you next week.